It's not often that the Chief Content Officer, Paul Triple H Levesque, is here on Raw. He must have some major news to share.
Well, let's hear what the game has to say.
As you all know, we've been building a new era in WWE, a direction that's bolder than anything you've ever seen before. But to forge this path, we need talent who can rise to the occasion. Whether that's someone who's already here, or an outsider ready to step in and lead the charge. Who is going to be the superstar to lead us to that next level? Well, we're going to answer that question starting next Monday on Raw with the WWE Draft.
The WWE Draft kicks off next Monday. That's huge news.
Raw and SmackDown GMs Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis have decisions to make that will shape the future of WWE. Now, I know I'm supposed to be impartial, but as a Chief Content Officer, I'm going to drop a couple of hints about who I think will be selected #1 overall and become the leader of this new era. This individual is going to be a force in the men's division for years to come. I've seen his potential for greatness already as...
Big bro, I swear to God, he said, nigga, you wanna die, nigga? I'm trying to take a nigga life, nigga.
What? Nigga, what else kid?
as one of the top superstars on Raw. They could be the next EST, the next American Nightmare, or better yet, carve their own path to lead the new era of WWE. It all starts at the draft when we take the next step in WWE's revolution.
Sounds like the CCO thinks one of Raw's top names might be going #1 overall.
I can't wait for draft night.
Put me back. Put me back. Next time.
You ain't in that Maybach, boy, you flexing. The way my diamonds fight, you think they take it. I'm rich forever, man, it is a blessing. Don't try to size my chain out of my weapon. Fuck that whole thing, no name. Play a bitch like a game. But if you get out of cocaine, they do it for the pain. You ain't in that Maybach, boy, you flexing. I'm rich forever, man, it is a blessing. My bitch on bad behavior. We on rich in a baby. Bitch, I'm a ball player. We had a long paper. You ain't in that Maybach, boy, you flexing. They till he drop 50 on the necklace. Drop a 4, not a 2 in a big blue. Switch it up, drop a check on a new.
Bro, the level just started and we're already getting overrun. I gotta take these guys out and build this crossbow tower as fast as possible. Jey Uso is the new World Heavyweight Champion after he defeated Gunther at WrestleMania 41 this past weekend in Las Vegas at Legion Stadium. And on the Raw after Mania, Jey had a nice little celebration with Jimmy Uso and Sami Zayn to ring in the Yeet era. It's officially here. Whether everyone likes it or not, which we know, maybe everyone doesn't. Still, Jey has become the world champion, and the crowds are still behind him. They are yeeting nonstop everywhere Jey goes. Jey Uso, the world champion. We never thought it would happen, but we're here. And so, we're going to talk about something, though, that WWE very clearly dropped in terms of a big hint when it comes to what's going to be, maybe not next, but what's in the future for Jey Uso. And I know, as we talked about in the Raw reaction show that we did live here on the channel, some of you guys have already seen it. But humor me for a second, because I do want to talk about the story, because I think it's interesting when you really think about where this thing is headed with Jey Uso. We've talked about all the possible contenders you could have for Jey on Raw right now, right? There's a lot of different people you could have Jey in the mix with. Obviously, the newly formed Paul Heyman Dangerous Alliance, as we're calling them here, for recall the WCW. You could have something with Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. You could have something with Jey Uso and Braun Breaker, given the history between those two. Obviously, whether the brand split matters or not, which sometimes I don't know if it does, there are plenty of other people you can throw into the mix here when it comes to potential challengers for Jey. We mentioned at WrestleMania, one of the reasons why I picked Logan Paul to beat AJ Styles is because I could absolutely see them doing a Jey Uso versus Logan Paul feud at some point. Again, whether anyone wants that or not, they are certainly setting Logan Paul up for something bigger after defeating someone like AJ Styles at WrestleMania. And so, there's a lot of different challenges, and there are people that are not even named yet that we know could be in the mix. Throw Rusev back in there at some point. Drew McIntyre could easily come over and challenge. You've got all sorts of things that could tie into the CM Punk, right? Like, there's a lot of different stuff. But some of those are more realistic than others. But the one we know that is the most realistic at some point is going to happen. And it's just a matter of not if, but when. And that one is, of course, Sami Zayn. Because we saw all the hints that WWE was dropping on this week's edition of Raw. Sami comes out to celebrate with Jey, but if you looked at the way Jey reacted, if you go back and watch it, and you see the way that Jey reacts when Sami's music hits, right? It's not Jey all that excited. He's sort of a little bit hesitant. And we're trying to figure out, well, why is that, right? Why is he a little bit hesitant? Sami Zayn. Come on, it's Sami Uso here. But Jey, you can tell the body language a little bit hesitant. Well, then what happens? Well, Jey and Sami go up. They celebrate on the top rope. Sami comes back down. Jey goes up top, and he's celebrating. He's yeeting with the fans, all this other stuff. And then we get the big moment, right? Some of the fans caught on in the building. A lot of you guys have already caught on. But you have that moment where you have Jey Uso on the top rope celebrating, yeet, and then you just have that one dramatic shot, that camera shot that WWE is so good at, where you see Sami Zayn standing behind him. He's just standing there, and it's not one of those where you quickly cut away. We always talk about this, you guys know, with all the stuff we've done storyline-wise, whether it was a bloodline or anything else. It's all about how you frame it, right? In the frame, you're sitting there seeing Sami just a little more stoic. The celebration is stopped for Sami. Jay's celebrating on the top, and Sami's just sitting there giving him a stare. There was also something before that, where Sami is just looking at the championship as soon as he gets out there. He looks at Jay, but he looks a little bit more at the title. And then you have something like this, right? Where you can tell, even when you have this sort of over-the-top type hug, Sami's celebrating with Jay, you know, Jimmy's out there, all this other stuff. But you can tell, look at the face of Jey Uso here. Whether intentional or not, it works for the story that they are going to tell eventually. Because these are two guys, as we know, who have been tied together for so long, throughout the Bloodline saga, through all the ups and downs. These were the two that somehow became really one of the favorites, right? They became this favorite pairing that we just could never look away from, because you could just tell, you know, Jay was always trying to figure out a way to keep Sami in the mix, right? Through all the stuff that Roman Reigns was doing and everything like that. Jay had that soft spot for Sami, and they bonded, and all those things that came together, right? But we have to remember that throughout all of this, Jey Uso winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, how did he get there? He got there by winning the Royal Rumble. And what did he do in that Royal Rumble? Well, he eliminated several people. But he also eliminated Sami Zayn. And if you remember, that's where, you know, you had Drew McIntyre involved, all that. Jay accidentally kicked Sami off, and then you had some of those things coming out of it, right? Where, you know, was it an accident? Was it not an accident? Okay, everything's fine. Well, Sami has to turn his attention to Kevin Owens with everything that happened in the unsanctioned match, the Elimination Chamber, gets destroyed. Now he's back, right? But all these little things are starting to tie together. And again, just this visual right here, this is one of several visuals you could take away from that segment on Raw and realize that they are already laying the foundation for what is going to be something pretty incredible down the road between Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. And this is why we talk about the long-term booking, right? The long-term stories. Yes, we certainly have had to talk about that over the past couple of days with a certain someone on this channel. But when you think about Triple H and sort of the long-term stuff and how every little detail seemingly matters, most of the time, maybe not all the time, but in this particular scenario, think about the way they have used Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. And so, if you tie in the fact that Jay eliminated Sami from the Royal Rumble, all right, well, Jay benefited from that. He goes on and wins the World Championship. He did what Sami did last year in terms of beating Gunther. But what has Sami never done? He's never been the world champion on the WWE main roster. He was the NXT champion at one point. He's never been the WWE champion. He's never been the World Heavyweight champion. And so, now it comes at the expense of Sami. Jay got there in a tiny part due to the fact that he had to eliminate Sami to do it, whether intentional or not, right? And so you can bring that back into the story. But there's something else, too, that you can bring into this, and we can't forget this part. Who was the person this past weekend who became really kind of a viral sensation on social media? It was Karrion Kross. And we talked about in the Raw reaction show that we did, everyone's kind of saying, hey, maybe we wouldn't mind the idea of maybe putting Karrion Kross with this new Paul Heyman faction, right? Throw him in there with maybe a little Braun Breaker, a little Seth Rollins. Maybe Karrion Kross could be an interesting person. Because remember all the things that they were tying in with Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. There was at one point people wondering, are they going to do Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania? Was that going to be one of the matches? But if you think about it, the way they kind of played up this whole Karrion Kross thing backstage, talking like to all these different people, trying to be basically the devil, right? Of trying to make these people make the decision. Are you going to be good? Are you going to listen to the good? Are you going to listen to the bad? Right? And so, yet, when you look back at some of the things he's said, it's made a lot of sense because Sami has always been there, right? He's been the guy, even though Sami brought that out a little bit, in this, saying, you know what? You don't know, Jay, how much it hurt me to not be there for you with all the stuff that's been going on with Gunther. And you know how much it hurt me, you know, basically to not be at WrestleMania. But, you know, I had to be here. Had to be here to celebrate this moment with you. And so all that stuff that Karrion Kross talked about, how Sami has sort of basically sacrificed himself for everyone else. That's the moral of the entire story that they were kind of telling. And that how at some point, Sami's got to put himself first, right? That's really been the whole point here when we talk about all those things. And of course, we could go down the rabbit hole of going back to every single little tiny interaction that Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn have had. But when you tie all those things together, you are going to get what I think is a great, great story where it is a matter of when is Sami Zayn going to let the Karrion Kross devil on this shoulder outweigh the good one on this shoulder, right? Like, when is that going to happen? And the way they set it up here, we always say it's going to maybe be a slow burn. Not with everything. Wasn't a slow burn with the Becky Lynch heel turn, right? She came back, won the titles, boom, heel turn. But it's going to be a little bit more that way, you would think, with Sami and Jay. And I just feel like this is one where when you think about, again, what Triple H has put into these two guys and sort of the care that he's given both of them, just from a presentation standpoint, right? He has got to be setting up something pretty exciting when it comes to these two. And I think it's great because, as we said, this is where you can tie in all the long-term story stuff. It just isn't something that happened at the Royal Rumble, and now we get there because of that. There's so many things in the past you can kind of call back to. And we talked about just all the different ways you can make this work. And so now Jay enters this title run. And we always say, it's not a matter of just winning the championship. It's what do you do afterwards? That is how your title reign is going to be remembered. And we know there has been plenty of criticism online for Jey Uso, whether it's the wrestling stuff, whether it's the promos, all this other stuff. Completely understand. But this is, again, where your title reign is made. And it's not really just Jey. It's what WWE does to put him in a position to succeed now as the world champion. And if you have this as kind of your North Star, as someone else has said in the past couple of days about the story, it's a great place to head towards because you do have everything you can tie in here with the Rumble, Karrion Kross, all this other stuff, the bloodline history between these two, and everything like that. And when you see the facial expressions, when you see the camera shots and everything that they put out there on Monday, those are the things I want. You guys know that. Those are the things that I enjoy more than anything else. Give us the little hints. Give us the teases of what's to come, but only if it makes sense. And this is one that absolutely, if they do it the right way, hey, maybe this is WrestleMania 42. Maybe we get there a lot quicker, right? But Sami Zayn trying to win his first ever World Heavyweight Championship and maybe coming at the expense of Jey Uso. There's a lot you can do with that when it comes to jealousy. Could you get old Sami Zayn with a little conspiracy theory action? All this other stuff. I think there's a lot of ways you can go with this, and I think it's going to be fantastic. So, you guys let me know what you think. Are we getting there? We're going to get to Jey versus Sami. I know a lot of you already think that we are, and the hints were pretty obvious. But how do you want to see this play out? How could you see this playing out when it comes to the story between Jey Uso and Sami Zayn? When we get there for the World Heavyweight Championship match, it's got to happen at some point, right? Always appreciate your feedback, guys. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts on when, if, are we going to get Sami Zayn and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Ultra Fire cervical care pillow. Even orthopedic doctors are using it. Orthopedic expert recommendation. Cervical traction pillow. Developed by more than 30 engineers. Each area has been professional to provide comfort for all sleeping positions. Support the neck and shoulder, relieve neck and shoulder pain, and sleep comfortably. I like this pillow very much. Can effectively alleviate the problem of cervical spine. High-quality goose velvet fill. Soft and high breathable, quickly rebound in 5 seconds. Long-term use will not deform. The neck is stiff or uncomfortable. Try this pillow. It is popular all over the world, specially developed for cervical discomfort.
Say hello to Zaxby's Southern Fried Shrimp. Available now. Who's got the sauce? Zaxby's.
the WWE Raw after WrestleMania 41 reaction live here on Wrestling Reaction. Both of you guys are going to do more live streams moving forward, and so figured we'd talk about everything that took place on Monday night in Las Vegas. A very notable Raw after WrestleMania. It hasn't always been the case. It seems like over the past little bit, that sort of trend was established many years ago. This was one of the most, exciting shows of the year in terms of Raw or SmackDown, and that sort of fell off a little bit. But last night, I thought was the opposite. I thought it was a fantastic show. I know there's some people making a lot about only 3 matches on the card, but it advanced a lot of things that it needed to advance, and we're going to talk about it here this morning. So let you guys jump on in and give you my thoughts on everything that took place on the Raw after WrestleMania. And be sure as you're jumping in, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, turn on your notifications so we do go live to talk about these shows. Again, usually we do the PLEs, post-show reaction. Check out WrestleMania 41 Night 1, Night 2. Those reaction shows up on the channel. But sometimes we jump in and do a little Raw and SmackDown. So we're going to do that here with this. But let's get into it. Let's start with what I thought was the most sort of notable thing from this show. And that was not the John Cena, Randy Orton thing necessarily. We'll get to that. But of course, it was Paul Heyman adding someone else to the mix in his now dangerous alliance. And, for wrestling fans, the reason we're using that phrase is because that is a callback to Paulie Dangerously's Dangerous Alliance back in WCW and so forth. What a group he assembled there. And now it looks like Heyman is assembling his own group now. And started with Seth Rollins. We know with a big turn at WrestleMania. And then last night on Raw, it is Braun Breaker. He's there. And we said it. I mean, once he dropped the Intercontinental Championship, I was like, clearly they're moving on to something different with him, and they have to start to put him in we were talking about World Heavyweight Championship picture and all that, but it was time to move Braun Breaker from the Intercontinental level to now moving him up, right, with the upper tier, the upper echelon in WWE. And that's what's happened now. I mean, your first opportunity to do that is you get to go out and be with Seth Rollins to take out Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And so that shows you what they think of Braun Breaker. It shows you what they're really going to try to do now, I think, with Paul Heyman. And this is great because you needed something, as we said, the bloodline was sort of a situation where now that's cooled off for the first time in many years, right? We said you're coming out of WrestleMania, and there's really not a huge hook with the bloodline, whereas that's been the case for a while now. And now it's like, hey, you got something different. You got something different to work with. This is kind of the new bloodline. This is Paul Heyman's new family. And so now we're going to see how it all plays out. But we'll talk more about it. Good to see you guys jumping in. Russell, Dominic's here. Yeah, appreciate you guys, as always, hopping in. We said we might do this after Raw, and, we wait until the next morning. Sometimes it's just easier for me to catch up on things that way. But good to see right-hand Cam here. Always enjoy jumping in. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, you guys give your scores. If you're in the chat, anything, give your scores on what you think about this show last night. I thought it was a much more exciting overall, I think, than probably WrestleMania 41 as a whole. Not to say that there weren't good things on the show, as we talked about, whether it was the main event of night 2, the main event of night 1, the opener of night 2. Sorry, John Cena and Cody Rhodes fans. That probably wasn't the high point for many people, but we'll talk about the whole John Cena thing here in just a second. But, I thought it was one of the best Raw after WrestleManias they've ever done, to be honest with you. I just thought there were so many things, and we'll get to them, but there were so many things, I think, on this. It was pretty tremendous. So, all right, Michael's got a comment here, and this will tie into what we're going to talk about more with this whole Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker thing. But Michael says he thinks Jacob Fatu is going to join Roman. Similar joins the Heyman alliance with Roman getting a new wife. Interesting, because I think that's going to eventually happen. And, this is just a wild guess as to where we get to eventually, right? But I think what's going to happen is you build up this Heyman alliance thing, right? This new, whatever, you call them the Dangerous Alliance if you want. But you build up this group to where eventually you've got to sort of get back to yet again, the bloodline can still not come back every single week, but you can still get the band back together like they did at Survivor Series last year, right? To where maybe this group eventually is going to go up with maybe not every single member of the bloodline previously, but you could do that if you wanted to, in kind of a one-off type match eventually down the road. You could also just do a group that features Roman Reigns, CM Punk, everyone like that. You could put all these guys together, Cody on there, and all this sort of stuff because you're going to tie everybody together. And so now I think it's just a matter, though, until we get to that point, which feels like a little further down the road, if you're going to build this faction for Paul Heyman, you've got to have someone to go up against him, right? And so I think that's where obviously Punk, Reigns are going to be contenders for that, but eventually you're going to get probably some kind of multi-man match, I would think, coming out of it. And that's where, where does Jacob Fatu fit in? Where does Solo fit in? Do they tie into the story somehow? They're going to have their own little thing going, I think, coming out of WrestleMania here, because we know Jacob Fatu is the new champion, United States champion. And so they've still got to let that run its course, right? I'll tell you, Solo is someone who, and you guys know, we've talked about him a lot on the channel. I think, to me, I think Solo's just kind of in a spot right now where I think there's some interesting things you can do with him to kind of reheat.
Oh shit! Forgot to put that shit on the charger, my dumb. Tweak. What's up with all these fruit ass poses, man? Yeah, see, like, that's not a nigga pose, bro. That's not a nigga. Bro, that's mad. Yeah. It's hella disgusting, man. Nasty work, man. These niggas on whole shit. Alright, what that one's on now? I think it was on some beast mode shit. Nah, what that one shit that I had? This one. Fuck it. Man, come on, bro. That doofy shit. These niggas got hands. Get the fuck out of here. Bro, stop with this shit. Stop with this shit. Where the fuck is the one I just had? I can do this. What is this?
The winds of change are blowing.
Talking about the draft, I assume?
Yep. You and I haven't had much of a chance to get acquainted here on Raw. I
wouldn't mind that either.
I guess we'll
I'll
see.
be ready.
Mr. B, you expect Rick Carlisle a reaction to the anonymous poll calling Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player in the league? Yeah, I mean, I feel him. I mean, that's his player. Like, you know, that's his point guard. I don't think he's the most overrated player in the NBA. I mean, we can find somebody else. But yeah, I just think.
Well, if it isn't the subject of all those draft rumors.
What do you mean?
Come on, you heard what Triple H said, and it's all over social media too. Everyone thinks you're going #1 in the draft next week.
Since Raw has the first pick, you could put an end to all the speculation and just tell me who you're picking first.
My lips are sealed, but I will say that I doubt tonight is your last match on Raw. Oh, and speaking of the draft, make sure you look good up there on the stage.
What are you getting at?
I know in the past you had to wear whatever the office told you to for your non-ring attire. And sometimes you'd even have to wear the same ugly shirt for years on end. But things are different now. Like Hunter said, it's a new era with fewer restrictions. So you can wear whatever casual attire you want to express who you are. Got it?
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay, but more importantly, make sure you look good in your match tonight. Can't have my potential first pick losing the week before the draft.
I just don't think they like his game. I think it's just Indiana, you know. But he's not the most overrated player. I'm not rolling with that at all. And that list is crazy with those players on there. Because Trey Young, like Trey Young was high. Like, I'm just all white fans. I think they're asking for they've been doing it. I ain't like you see, but it's like Trey Young being touched like. Trey Young notorious for getting a lot of hate amongst his peers. When I was in the league, they had a vote. There was two things they better than what they really are. You didn't Dante Jones, 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Who think this is delusional? Even to this day. That poll? They had the poll. I know they have polls, but don't tell me better. Like, how do you see these polls? It's on your seat. Yeah, it's like voting. Like, they put the little joint on your seat, like, you know, if people don't be like you said, you don't have to. So, yeah, there was different player totals for different categories in the athletic analysis player poll. 90 votes, like I said, roughly 20% of the league. This is why you can't let players vote for